Now that it's warm, paste is undoubtedly one of the most popular and effective baits that you can possibly use on commercial fisheries. But there's loads of questions that need answering about paste, and I get loads, and I mean hundreds of questions every month on my YouTube, Nufish's YouTube, our Facebook pages, all about this deadly bait. So rather than going through and messaging you all individually, I thought what we'd do is a nice 4-part series where we're going to cover all the different aspects of paste. So we're going to start, part 1 is going to be about mixing the paste, part 2 is going to be about using it in deep water, part 3 is going to be using it on the short pole, and then part 4 finally we'll end up in the margins, hopefully slaying some great big units. So if you want to know all about paste and all the different parts and things to consider with paste fishing, then you're going to want to watch this lovely series on the Nufish YouTube channel. So you can't go paste fishing without the paste itself. Now there's loads of different types on the market, there's loads of stuff you can use, but this is what I use and this is how I sort of go about it. Now I get asked this all the time, I've done it before in videos, but to be honest, I get asked it all the time, so I thought we need to do a quick refresher and actually go into detail about the ingredients, how we mix it, how we use it, and all that kind of stuff. So I like the actual paste mix itself. It's up to you. There's loads of ground baits out there that are really good for this. Now you want something that's nice and fine. It doesn't want to be a crushed expander based ground bait. That's really important to say. Crushed expander pellet ground baits, sort of, you'll know what they are. If you mix them up, they sort of, you make a bowl of them and they sort of, like, feels like it's growing in your hand, it's like expanding out. You don't want that for paste, it's no good. You need a ground bait where you squeeze it like that and it stays like as a hard ball. And something like Thatcher's, Swim Stim Green, Special G Green, even something like Blake's Fine Carp, something like that that is actually like crushed pellets rather than crushed expander pellets is really important. So that's a great place to start. For me personally, Thatcher's is great, it works a treat. I've used it for years and years, it works a treat. But it's not quite right straight out of the bag, so I'm just going to show you what I do. Now I've got some other bits and pieces here, which I'll talk about in a minute. But one of the most important bits of kit you can have as a paste angler, if you want to mix up your own paste, is one of these. I believe I got it from IKEA, but I'm not sure about that. You probably get them on Amazon. And I think it's for your sink in your kitchen. But it's absolutely perfect for making paste and other ground baits finer. It takes out all those bigger particles. So first thing, like I said, we want a really small particle size. It's really important, that is. So I'm just going to measure out 250ml pot of Thatcher's to start with. I'm going to put 2 of them in there, and I'm going to run them through that sieve. So Thatcher's is a lovely sort of neutral colour as well. It takes colours really well, so if you want to put a red dye in it or you want to put a green dye, whatever you fancy, it takes it really well because it's a very neutral sort of colour. So let's whiz that through there. You don't get loads of rubbish, to be fair, off this, but it's enough to like speed the breakdown of the paste. I want the paste to get to the bottom and stay there until a carp comes along. All this sort of bigger particles, the water gets in and blows the paste apart in the water and means that your paste probably breaks down after like 30 seconds to a minute. Whereas if you get rid of all that and get that lovely fine texture, the water can't get into the paste as well, doesn't break down as fast. So you see there, all them little bits and pieces, we don't want them. So we've got a lovely fine dust. I'll just pop that in there to show you and get rid of that. So we've got a beautiful fine dust now. Works. That's like the perfect sort of base ingredient for your paste. It stinks, lovely smell. Like I say, it's got that lovely brown neutral colour. Next, we need to add, I've got to say the secret ingredient, but it's not really, because I've told loads of people about this and it's been used in paste mixes for years, and that is the wheat gluten. Now, I get asked all the time about how much to put in. And the answer is, I've got no answer to that. I kind of just do it by eye. There's probably a lovely measurement. The only thing I've found when I've tried to do it with a measurement, this stuff really varies. As in one summer you'll get a bag and it'll be really stringy when you put it in your mix. But then the next summer you come and it'll barely bind at all. So if I was to tell you, put exactly 100ml of it in, like this stuff, it definitely varies in strength, so just be mindful of that. I think you've got to do it by eye. Some of you will probably tell you that there's a perfect ratio for it, but I've just found like I just do it by eye and sort of get away with it, to be honest with you. So in this bowl, I'm just going to put in that Thatcher's. Now this is the bit that's, like I say, I'm just doing it by eye really. I like to just dust the top of the ground bait, however much is in there. I like to have it quite flat like that. And then I like to dust the surface of it with that wheat gluten, and I found that just ends up being the right amount. So just ever so gently, like that, just dusting the top. That's it. Like, I don't need more than that. just a nice little amount. You can see it's just covered the top of that ground bait, and I know that's a really like haphazard way of doing it, but I've just found over the years that that works really well. So let's just mix it in, and you'll see when you put this gluten in there, the ground bait goes like a really pale colour. If it goes too white, you've put too much in. But you just want it just wants to just go a lighter shade of brown than what you already had it. So that's absolutely perfect, that is. And then it's just a case of mixing the paste together. So when you're mixing paste, I think it's important to put your water in your bowl first and then add the dry paste to it. So what I'm going to do, we've got 500 ml of dry there, so I'm just going to put in about 400 ml to start with of water, give or take. So a full cup and then sort of 2/3 of a cup-ish, just to start with. And then I'm going to pop that whole lot of dry ground bait in there. And then I'm just going to whiz it around super quick. And it looks absolutely atrocious. Looks way too wet, that does. But trust me, that'll come round. I've got one here, one I made earlier. And that is super runny, look at that, it looks ruined. But trust me, that'll be the perfect consistency in about an hour's time. When all them particles take on the water, that'll be perfect. See that? Super runny, but it'll be perfect. So don't worry about that. See, it's stiffening up already. And this stuff, the wheat gluten, actually takes a bit of time to sort of develop in your mix. I found it is much better to do this the night before, or even 2 days before. Pop it in the fridge, and after that sort of time, that wheat gluten activates and it becomes a bit more stringy, holds your paste together. Now the reason we add this is because I want it to sort of hold that paste together. I'm not wanting it to be like a ball of concrete on the hook. I still want it to be super wet on the hook, but this sort of helps it hold together. What I found with ground bait, especially if I'm using ground bait paste, it opens up too quick. So when you're fishing in the margins or short and you're waiting for a bite, you only get like a minute and a half before it breaks down and falls off. Whereas with this, it means it actually holds together for quite a long time, even when you're mixing it super wet. So I found that this is a big part of my fishing, really. You see that's coming together lovely already. Like I say, within an hour, that'll be a lovely soft smooth paste, and that will have activated in there and be holding the ground bait together. I just want to show you the sort of finished product, because I did some last night just to show you. And I always pop them, once I've mixed them, I like to pop them in one of these like Tupperware tubs. I am the man of many Tupperware tubs, but they are essential when you're mixing paste or ground bait or pellets or anything like that. I think they're really important. Excellent for keeping your bait nice and airtight. And this is the sort of finished texture. This is one I mixed last night. And as you can see, that wheat gluten is fully activated in there, but it's not super stringy like pizza dough. It's just enough to keep the paste together, look, to keep the ground bait together. And it is absolutely perfect. It's smooth, it doesn't really stick to your hands. Just absolutely perfect. So that's the one that's mixed perfectly. Now, I've got some red dye here, and you can see in this little tub, this is another little type of Tupperware that I found the other day. I've got some red paste in here, and I've just mixed that with some, it's the Thatchers again, but I've mixed it with some red dye. Now, for me, when you're fishing in the margins, I found red is really good in the margins. I don't know why. I think it might be just that the water gets coloured up a bit more in the margins than it does out in the lake. Whatever the reason, there's no doubting about it, red is very effective in the edge. So that is the Sensate red dye, and to be honest, it's probably the best red dye I found. It just takes over even like neutral colour ground bait. So that Sensate is perfect. But if you don't want to mess about, if you don't want to do all this business, and you don't want to add this and chance it, there is an option, and it's this stuff. Now this is the Miracle paste from Miracle Baits. Now this stuff has been available for over 20 years, and it takes all the guesswork out of it. I don't know if it is wheat gluten that's in there, but there's something in there that makes it very similar to the paste that I use. It is brilliant stuff. I've used this loads. If I can't be bothered or I've run out of this is what I turn to. It's brilliant stuff. So if you can't be bothered to buy that, do all this business, just get a bag of that. It works a treat. So that's it, that's the paste. It's really simple. When it comes to textures, obviously it depends on the depth of water really. The wetter you can use it, the better, in my opinion. You miss less bites when it's like lovely and wet. That being said, if you're fishing out like today, we might be fishing in sort of 6, 7 foot of water. Obviously, you've got to stiffen that paste up a little bit. So play it by ear. You can see that's coming together lovely now. Play it by ear. stiffer for the deeper water, but in the edge I will literally have it running off the hook. So we'll show you in the next video about the different textures. We're going to do a video on deep water, short pole and edge, 3 separate videos for that, and I'm going to show you the different textures that we use. But as a working sort of texture, I always think that sort of smooth, wet putty, you put that on, you're going to catch plenty of fish. So that's my paste mix. Like I say, for me, them 2 ingredients are pretty much all I use. Add to that the red dye, absolutely belting. But if you can't be bothered with any of that, just use that, it's brilliant. So check out the next videos and we'll show you how we're going to use all this brilliant paste.